If you feel you have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business, here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J or join our Facebook group.
Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, 18 Hours special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the only daily MSME platform in the country, a show where you can voice your concerns and get answers to all your queries directly from our team of experts. We understand the issues that you, the MSME entrepreneur, face, and this show aims to bring you the most relevant and updated information on everything related to your businesses. There's a plethora of changes taking place in the real estate industry, so what better time to speak to a leading expert from the space than now? I caught up with Shobha Developers. Here's what JC Sharma of that real estate giant had to say to us earlier. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow. So such a pleasure to have you on the show. Let me start by talking to you about, first off, the kind of changes that the real estate industry has undergone since the time that you've entered the business, and what has been the biggest disruptor.
We had gone public in 2006, and prior to that and post 2006, this 10 years period is quite a long period, and we believe a lot has changed. The scale has changed, the investment numbers have changed. The number of people who are today operating, it has changed, it has become more global, it has become more transparent. Of course, still a lot needs to be done, but personally we believe that directionally we have been on the right track.
Okay. What, according to you, has been the biggest disruptor though? A lot of industries are obviously attributing the role of technology. Has that played a big role for the real estate space?
Not much, not much. As far as technology is concerned, it has been incremental. It is indeed playing its role, but not that significantly. It is on the other parameters. The real estate sector was, truly speaking, a mom and pop kind of businesses where local players used to rule the local areas. So within a city, you will have developers, somebody specializing in the south, somebody in the north, somebody in the west, or somebody in the east, kind of a thing. The size of products or projects used to be 50,000 square feet to 150,000 square feet. Now, if you look now from that context to this context, you have people who have professionalized, who have gone public, or who have taken money from the private equity players. Their sizes today ranges from 500,000 square feet to 5 million square feet. They today are committing and delivering things in a much better manner. Of course, we have certain negative things as well. But what India has delivered in real estate sector in last 10 years, probably since independence till then, it has not delivered.
Sure.
So that is the change in the size and the scale. To be specific to Shobha, if you look at in last 10 years post public, we have delivered more than 75 million square feet, whereas in the first 10 years we have delivered only 5 million square feet. So you can imagine, if what we have done, there are many players who have also done likewise, and that is the significant change you can see.
I want to talk about first off the opportunities to strategize between small players in the real estate space and a big player like yourself.
To begin with, our focus had always been that if you can master the product and if you can also understand the requirement of the customer, that the product will be acceptable to the customer. If you meet these two criteria, I do believe there still remains a lot of scope even for the newcomers even now in this industry to succeed. Because quality is one such thing which is dynamic, parameters keep changing. And in an environment where we live today, we believe that thanks to the technology what you have been mentioning about, thanks to the easy availability of funds what we have been talking about, thanks to the awareness of the customers, what they have today vis-a-vis what they had about 10 years back. Personally, I believe the real estate sector still will provide huge scope to the newcomers as well to come and grow.
Maybe before I talk to you about some of the challenges that the real estate space is facing, in your mind right now, speaking as we are and where we are at, what are the top 2 or 3 challenges that you think the real estate industry is facing at this point?
See, this is a good question. See, the way we grew in the beginning of this century, with the Indian economy growing 8-9% and especially driven by the IT sector, where first time the salary increase or wage increase was at a very high level, the interest cost had come down to 8% for a consumer, and the prices were right. That kind of a thing will take a much longer period to be felt again. That was a dream period in my view, 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe beginning of 8. Now in 2016, we need to rework on our strategy based on what has happened to the Indian economy and the global economy in last 3-4 years. We cannot over leverage. We cannot depend upon, again I repeat, that since I have a land or since I was a developer 10 years back or since I have been doing business the way I have been doing till now, I can continue doing the same things and still remain successful. So they have to focus on delivery and they have to deleverage themselves. If they follow these 2 cardinal principles, I think most of the developers today are capable enough to sustain themselves.
Okay. So you're saying deleverage, and I want to just extend that point forward and talk about funding. You were previously saying it's not very difficult for someone who's in this space. We have a call-in show on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and 90% almost of all queries that come to us say that we're small MSMEs, we're entrepreneurs, we're finding it difficult to raise funds. First and foremost, for an entrepreneur, any entrepreneur, whichever industry, what would your advice be in terms of fundraising, and 2, specifically for the real estate space? How do you suggest they go about fundraising?
See, today if you look at startup ecosystem, right, for MSME, there cannot be a smaller size than a youngster 24-25-year-old venturing out and trying his or her luck through that startup ecosystem. Even if he has got also a right product and he doesn't run after the valuation, this is what I read somewhere, but can offer value to whatever ideas he has, whatever products he has, he is being funded. The success of OYO kind of a thing is there before us. The success of Swiggy is there before us. I am not talking about the Flipkarts, Olas and Paytms of the world. So I personally believe that there has to be value proposition on the table, whether I am an MSME or whether I am a startup or whether I am a large player. Otherwise, this economy and this new age buyers, they don't care for anybody. So they need to put first that on the table. Secondly, whatever they do, right, they cannot say that mine is idea and others will be the capital. So that is also not going to happen. So they need to have patience. The problem what we find in India, because India's size is too large, 1.27 billion people is not a small population, and everybody tries to extrapolate his or her business opportunity looking at that size, and in the process they make the mistakes. I think it is always good to show patience, develop a product, offer a value proposition to the customer and wait for the right leveraging, right time to capitalize upon. The discerning investors and the discerning buyers, in my view, in this emerging India, will be able to spot those leaders and will back them up. One has to show exemplary patience. When we talk about the world's top 5 or 6 top market capitalized companies, they were all first generation entrepreneurs. But look at the kind of value proposition they have offered. Whether the Indian entrepreneurs are mentally ready or not, it is for them to answer. But if they rise to the occasion, India is going to be a great country, irrespective of whether I perform or not. But if I start following the trend which the globally others have been following, chances of these people succeeding definitely will be greater.
So if I understood you right, you're saying that you can't expect to only have the ideas and expect someone else to only have the capital. So does this mean that your advice for real estate MSMEs and entrepreneurs would be to have some form of capital?
Of course, some kind of a capital or some kind of a delivery. Like how do you develop even a small medicine as well? How do you develop a small idea, whether it is scalable, whether you are prepared to professionalize, whether you are prepared to give in something on the table. But if I am looking at purely from a valuation perspective because I have a great idea, that kind of a mindset should change. If I am succeeding in what I am talking about, what a little bit I am hearing or I have heard, what they promise versus what they deliver to their investors, they are not proving right even for their next month projections. What to talk about yearly and the decadal projections. So until unless I have not understood the strength of my idea properly, it is not easy to work upon somebody else's capital and say I need to be successful.
Okay, fair enough. So one form of fundraising is of course to the banks, and I want to ask you, have things started changing on the ground in terms of bank lending now to the real estate space? Because for a period it seems to have come to a standstill given the NPAs were at a decade high. Sitting where you are, have things started changing on the ground?
We all know the way the banks NPAs have been impacting and affecting our economy. I think to the extent real estate sector is concerned, they have not contributed to this kind of a problem, because RBI and the banking system doesn't permit the borrowers to lend money against the land purchase. They are being able to raise money as construction finance or working capital loan against the ongoing projects. So more or less the banking system vis-a-vis real estate sector is secure, but because RBI prescribes higher risk weightage ratio, while lending money to a real estate company, they charge higher rate of interest, which is not working to their advantage. So first problem is they don't lend against our raw material, which is land, and secondly they lend at a higher rate. This gap has been filled up by NBFC, and NBFC by nature their cost of funds are far higher. They borrow money from the banks and then they lend it. They understand the business and they have been lending it aggressively. Unfortunately, last 3.5 years for the real estate sector, multiple reasons, right, they haven't done as well as they had expected. Somewhere the developers are also responsible because either they did not deliver the products on time, or they priced their products very high, or so many people, because of the easiness in the liquidity or otherwise the ability to launch projects of larger sizes in a different context what we talked about, they created extra supply, and it all impacted the demand, and the ability to increase the prices was not there. This had impacted them. Now since last 1 year the Reserve Bank has been reducing the rate of interest. Till now 1.75% rate of interest has been reduced. For this October policy also 25 basis points they have reduced, and all this thing will augur well. Once the residential home loan rate it comes down below 9%, the anecdotal evidence says the demand starts going up. We are entering into the festival season. Personally, I remain quite optimistic that second half onwards the real estate demand should start picking up, and once the demand picks up, naturally it solves lots of problem. A good monsoon solves lots of problem of a farmer. Similarly, good demand solves lots of problem of any company. So we are entering into that great phase of consolidation and better demand scenario, which should improve our balance sheet and help them to launch more projects, of course at an affordable price.
Let's take a quick break here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, but I will continue that conversation with JC Sharma of Shobha Developers. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. I caught up with JC Sharma of Shobha Developers earlier. Take a listen. Has FDI had any real impact? And I particularly want to talk about the bottom of the pyramid in terms of size of companies. Has that changed?
Of course, yes. Again, if you really look at the commercial real estate sector, it has benefited greatly through the FDI sector. All the top players today who are operating out of this commercial real estate, they all are beneficiary of the funding being provided through the FDI route. In case of real estate residential space as well, and in the listed company also, lots of investments through FDI route had come. And I believe in times to come, when the global growth is still uncertain and negative interest rate is there, to the extent of 500 million peoples in developed economy, India should be the beneficiary of this excess liquidity outside India and high growth inside India, and real estate sector is likely to continue to enjoy this FDI benefit.
Okay. I just want to go back to the previous point you were making in terms of the cost of fund and the cost of lending by the RBI. Has the MCLR had any impact on the industry?
What I have been given to understand by our banker friends, that with NPA more or less in place now, incremental declaration of NPA will not happen, A. B, the incremental deposit rates, if you look at from 8.5%, now it has come down to 7% or so, and likely to come down further. Then small savings rates also have started coming down. So all such things, according to my understanding, the MCLR rates, they are likely to come down significantly on an accelerated basis, which in other words mean that we will be the beneficiary of this MCLR rates, where what transmission we were not seeing the way we expected it to be, in times to come you will see at a greater accelerated pace.
Okay. Since we're talking about the government, I want to talk a few more initiatives on the part of the government. One, of course, is Housing for All and the government's push towards affordable housing. What opportunities, anything specific you could possibly tell our viewers in terms of how they can participate more in this value housing and affordable housing, and to maybe some extent also smart cities that the government has been pushing?
We respect and appreciate this government's initiative as far as our sector is concerned. Whatever steps they have taken, somewhere housing has not been ignored, right? Housing for all, the smart cities, the Real Estate Regulation Act, all such things, and the reduction in the interest rates, and Make in India, and creating that groundwork for this sector to succeed is immense. At the same time, the government also realizes, and developers also should realize, that the government doesn't have control over the land prices. And government, unfortunately, has not been able to come out of this Land Acquisition Act, which doesn't work in the interest of the housing sector. Because any land you acquire today, you have to pay 2 times if it is within the city, and 4 times if it is in the rural area. At that price, how can housing be per se affordable? You live in Mumbai, you know what kind of prices a product like a house commands, and primarily it is because of the increase in the land prices. So my advice will be that the SMEs and the newcomers, what they should do is to work upon efficient design, functional design, looking at that India also is going for a nuclearization of the family system, where 1 person living, 2 persons living is becoming a norm, then 4 and 4.5 what we are being told. When we talk about the population, we divide it by 4.5 times to arrive at the number of homes India has, roughly speaking. So from that, if you are reducing it to 2 or 1, you need to reduce the size also, and you need to make it more functional. This is one way of creating demand and bringing those people who cannot afford today a home in a city like Bangalore to afford, right? Our Dreammakers, a compact luxury home, is in that direction only, where in less than 1.5 years' time, we have sold more than 2,000 units.
Okay.
So it shows that if you create a right segment and make your home little bit more affordable, chances of your succeeding becomes to that extent greater.
How big an impact will RERA have?
RERA will have both sides of impact. Initially, it will impact the people who are not ready to comply with the RERA law. Right? You cannot launch a project, you cannot sell a project, and you cannot do any hanky-panky. If delivery is not done on time, you will be punished. So at the same time, we have taken a view that if you have to succeed in any industry, you cannot succeed by making your customer not as your brand ambassador, but putting them in an adversarial position. I have personally believed, and our company's belief had been, that whatever is good for the customer should be good for the company also. So I think RERA is a right step in that direction, which will ensure that the customer's rights get protected in a far better manner, which in turn will allow them to be more confident that now if they invest or buy a property, there is an authority which will take care of their interest, which will improve the sentiments and which, in my view, should bring back the demand even at a faster pace.
Your views then on GST and how that can change things for the industry?
That also is, I think, one of the most significant change that the Indian economy will undergo post its implementation. Hopefully, 1st of April is the target date. From our sector's perspective, what we believe that so far we have not been getting any benefit on the excise part or the countervailing duties, what we have been paying on our goods. So the steel or cement or anything which is produced in a factory, it used to attract the excise duty. That credit was not available. So to that extent, our cost of production, we are confident it is expected to come down.
Okay.
Right. Then we are worried about the rate of the GST. Right now we are not paying the VAT and service tax put together at 18% of the contract value. Now it goes to 18%, somewhere to that an extent the prices are likely to go up. So we have to keep our fingers crossed because rates we do not know. But on the cost side, because of extra input credit will be made available, we believe our cost of production will be decreased, and that benefit we hope to pass on to our customers.
Okay. As I finish this interview, is there one piece of advice that you've possibly received over the course of your professional life and something that you would have for our viewers in terms of advice?
See, what personally I have learnt is that we need to be more transparent in our Indian businesses. What we find that Indian entrepreneurs are probably the most capable entrepreneurs you will see vis-a-vis any other entrepreneurs in the world. Right? They are too smart, they are too capable, but at the same time they are not very transparent. If they start connecting with the customers in whatever businesses they are doing, and they start offering that value for money for the products or services they offer, India is going to be a huge market for these people. And I will also add one more sentence. Indian economy is being driven, whether it is employment generation or the consumption part, through the MSMEs only. This is one sector which needs to be recognized, which needs to be rewarded, and their efforts needs to be applauded.
Sure. Thank you very much for your time here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Thank you. That concludes our show as far as the real estate space and regulation is concerned. Do remember, if you are a company that wants to be featured on the Leaders of Tomorrow, or you have any queries related to any aspect of your business, do write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. Personally, tweet at me. The handle is Sunanda_J. Reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT or call us on that number you see flashing on your screens, and we promise to have all of your queries answered for you. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Have have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business, here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J or join our Facebook group.